Welcome to Ad-Nauseam. I'm Lucas. This is a podcast about the full reality of marketing and advertising, from the boardroom to the one-person marketing operation, holding it all together. My first guest is Corialise Pence, marketing coordinator at Interchange, a Virginia-based warehousing and cold storage company. We met through a mutual connection, and what started as a conversation about navigating marketing inside an industry where it's still earning a seat at the table turned exactly into the kind of dialogue that a show like this would be built for. So this is Ad Nauseam, and thank you, Corialise, for being my first guest.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me to come on as we get started on this crazy journey of
Yeah.
marketing in supply chain, especially.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk a lot about it. Like I mentioned in the intro, we have a mutual connection from our two companies, and that's how we met. And during those chats, I mentioned that I really wanted to start a marketing podcast, and you're holding me to it. So, first
Yes, I
episode is
am.
here. So, well, let's jump in. I want to talk about uh, you first and like your history in marketing. What got you excited about marketing? What got you into the field? And then how you made it to Interchange. What was that road for you?
So I went to West Virginia University and I completed my undergraduate with a creative writing degree in English. And my first job was not even related to marketing. It was in insurance for home and auto. And I was in that field for about 7 years. And I got really burnt out on being around people and people at the worst times of their lives or, just the ins and outs of insurance. So it was just not fun. And I wanted to use my degree in some way. And I had a friend who was like, hey, I have a job there's a job opening where I'm at to do social media. And I know you've volunteered to do social media stuff for the local baseball team. So I was like jumped at the opportunity, and it was a business to consumer market for mental health. I was there for about 3 years and I was ready to move on to something a little different and saw Interchange was hiring and went through the very long interview process and got brought on board. So it was great.
That's awesome. So, talk us a little through what Interchange is. I know I give a brief description, but I know that a lot of people, especially even for me and our business, ask us all the time, what in the world is a 3PL?
So a 3PL is where we can help from manufacturing through finished products. So if we need to store dry, raw goods to make product or bottles before they're filled, we have dry warehousing space to fit all of that. And then if it's finished goods that are also not needing specific temperature control, or even if it is refrigerated or frozen finished goods, we can store those as well. And the 3PL part comes in as we can also transport between all of those locations and to the final location at a grocery store, or we can take it to another location for you.
Yep. Well said.
Quick and dirty.
Absolutely. So at Interchange, are you a one person marketing team?
I am.
Now, walk us through kind of your day to day duties and tasks as a one man marketing team or
So it
one woman
definitely
marketing team.
so
Pardon me.
it definitely varies from day to day, but generally I start out with following and checking on social media, making sure if there's comments, I either reply or like them. If anybody has shared or followed us, I check in on that. And then I also do a lot for our HR team for recruitment. We have internal boards that we have to keep updated. We have our external marketing boards. Um, but really, it currently, because I've been there for about a year, I'm focusing on like trying to make sure our brand awareness is forward focused. So that way it's more easily branched out for doing lead generation, and we can start doing email campaigns and different things like that.
Yeah. So you talked about lead generation, and one of the favorite buzzwords in marketing is sales funnel.
Yep.
So what I mean, obviously you're not going to give us the secret sauce to your ways, but like what does your funnel like look like? How do you initially source or find your lead, and then bringing them on as a customer? What does that entail look like?
So that's something we're actually still really hashing out is how we're going to build that funnel and how we're going to really utilize it. Currently, I have a third party person that I have running lists for me, and then I put it into a software where I can check and see if they're actually hitting on anything that we are willing to sell or that we can sell. And then I will try to find contacts within those organizations to pass along to the sales team and say, hey, this person is searching this key term, this person's searching this key term, or at least this organization is. And that way we can kind of do a kind of a cold call, but we're working our way to doing like a cold email marketing or warm marketing where if they go to our website, they can fill out a form and then they automatically get an email about what they're requesting.
Yeah, yeah. Outside of like email marketing and your organic social media, do you guys do like any paid marketing, any kind of like paid advertising?
Not yet. I'm still trying to find the best medium to do that. I did one campaign for $1,500 that got absolutely nothing. Um, but half the battle in this industry is trying and failing so you know where to go next.
Yep, yep. I feel that because we did a small scale recruitment ad on Google Ads, and we got a lot of driver hits, but none of them in the United States. They all wanted to drive for us in places I've never heard of. So that's probably on me. But going into that, like, do you get the sense that not just your company, but anytime you're with other marketers that are in that kind of B2B sales category that we're in, obviously B2C companies are willing to throw money at marketing teams, but a lot of times in B2B marketing kind of takes that back seat. Obviously we got smaller teams. We kind of have to lean on the absolutely critical stuff, and then everything else that we'd like to do or try to experiment with kind of takes a back seat. Do you get a sense that we're trending in a direction where we're looked at more than just stepbrother, stepsister?
I hope so. I know that a lot of Interchange specifically is really open to the different ideas and ways of marketing. But budget has not been available to throw at marketing. Um, but there has been some more willingness to try new things more recently, especially because we, within the last year, have brought on a new sales and marketing director and a younger director of operations. So now they're seeing those things that we could be doing, and now it's building it out and just trying to get the tools to where we can do it. I think that's our biggest struggle right now is budgetarily, where can we find the tools to use without spending $40,000 on a tool?
And when you started, was there a marketing department before? Like, were they filling in a seat, or was this kind of created when you came in?
So, kind of both. There was a marketing coordinator previously with Interchange, but they were there for a very short time. So, what they were able to accomplish wasn't as big as what I've been able to do over the last year because they were only there for a couple of months, if not less than that, technically. I think they were on the payroll for about a year, but they were only in office on site for about 3 months. Um, so it's kind of grown exponentially since I've been on board because I was a more dedicated person, but the previous person wasn't not dedicated. It was just they got a better offer to go back to where they had been before.
Yeah. I mean, I asked that because, like, in my experience, obviously, when I was hired and brought on, there was no marketing, so there was no budget to it.
Hmm.
It's kind of been starting from ground zero and building it up. So it's always interesting to get that perspective of how others, deal with, because it's a lot of the times people assume that, you walk in, there's a budget, given to you by the CFO or director of finance. You pick the software and, the ads that you want to do, but a lot of that is organizational kind of like herding cattle a little bit inside the organization and trying to get people on your side. Like an
I think
example
herding
for me,
cattle might be a bit too kind of a term. I think it's more like herding cats.
I perfect, perfect. But like for you, so how do you go about, building those relationships, when it comes time to be like, hey, I want to drop X amount of, ad dollars on this opportunity, how do you get that in line?
So I think because I haven't spent a whole lot on marketing advertising in the last year, because I've focused on brand recognition and social media where I've done primarily free stuff, I think because I have some proof that my content is working and we're growing in, at least some small ways, our engagement's better, click-through rates better, all of that. So I think because I have some data to back up what I'm doing, it's a little bit easier, but also our leadership is on social media. They're active on LinkedIn. They aren't so active on like Facebook or Instagram, but our Instagram's not even a year old yet. So, but where they're active, they're seeing the content and they're saying, "Hey, I saw this social media post. Great job. Hey, I saw this. Awesome. I like what you're doing with it." Which is amazing because not a lot of people in marketing are gonna get that recognition. And when it happens, it's really nice and I like to call it out. Um, but I think that's kind of made it easier because they're active and they're seeing what I'm posting and sharing it themselves.
Yeah. And so you brought it up, like obviously your team is more active on social media, probably I would say more than of mine. Um, but as again, one man, one woman marketing teams, we kind of take on the unceremonious task of being PR people too. Do you
Yeah.
ever have like slightly sleepless nights? I mean, at our scale, typically, if someone posts something, negative or something that we would, deem an issue, where it's such a, low scale that, it's not going to be headline news, next morning. So some people might think that that's a little bit, overblown, but we're still representing the brand. We're still trying to protect the brand. So like when something happens like that, we have to be, the first in line to be like, hey, knock it off. Don't do this anymore. Do you ever
Yeah.
have those moments where you're like worried about people outside of the business?
I have had one situation over the last year where that was an issue. And I went to the person that it was about at first and was like, "Hey, have you seen this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's nothing. It's just somebody just causing issues." I said, "No, it's not." Um, and so then I took it to, you know, I took it up the flagpole to say, and just kind of got handled and worked itself out. But I think that was the closest to a sleepless night, I would say. But we haven't had anything major that's happened that would make news or even that's been a huge issue. I've been very fortunate in that, knock on wood. Um, I don't want to say that now and then come tomorrow, there's
10
something
o'clock
awful that
news tonight.
happens. Yeah, 10 o'clock news tonight, interchange. No, thank you. Um, So it's not been bad at this point. Um, and when people are asking me like, "Hey, how do you handle the stress?" It's like, it's marketing. No one is gonna die from marketing. Now, there could be some other issues that come out of marketing, like comments or things like that, but we're also a privately held company. And that was a big difference from my previous job, which was a government funded and it was a public held company. And so we we had to follow the FERPA or not FERPA, the Freedom of Information Act. So couldn't delete any comments. We had to any negative anything we had to leave up. Versus at Interchange, we're privately held, and if there's something that is defamatory or breaks what we're calling our guidelines, we can technically delete the comment. I try not to because of my background, and I think it's good to grow from the negative stuff
Hmm.
and point it out to use as a learning experience. But I haven't had a whole lot of those issues. And when I have, it was actually something that I had to take to our C-suite who showed it to the legal team. And then they're like, yeah, take a screenshot and delete it. It's fine.
Do you do any like kind of, I don't want to say necessarily training, but like any kind of like, walkthrough with anyone that's like higher up? Obviously, not all employees are going to, from warehousing to truckers are going to listen to uh, PR advice, because they're just going to be them. But like from an executive standpoint, like, do you ever, mention with them like, hey, like, here are the appropriate ways to go about things, preferably just don't post anything political. That seems like to be the number one thing that I always worry about is like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care necessarily what you post, just please for the, love of everyone, do not post anything that's political.
I haven't needed to, but I will say we did institute a social media guidelines
Mhm.
because we can't police everybody on social media. But now we're also working on a policy that's an IT policy that mentions social media. And it mentions like if you have an issue, don't post a comment on social media about it.
Mhm.
Don't like if you have an issue with your supervisor, don't post it on social media. Go
Yep.
to your supervisor or to HR. If you have a complaint, HR. Um, if you mention where you work in your profile, be careful about what you're posting, where you're posting it, because it will come back on you.
Yep.
Um, because people will screenshot it and they will leave a review, and we will
Yeah.
know exactly who to get in touch with.
Yeah. Without getting into any like, personal stories, obviously, it feels like that's like the one biggest headache is like, you got a, maybe lower level employee isn't necessarily the correct term, but like, a warehouse employee, posts something on their own personal account, but they have, the company tagged in their bio, and
Hmm.
they just make it so easy for someone who just, you know, wants to get revenge or retribution to just go right to that company and say, hey, X employee said this. And, it doesn't mean much for them, doesn't mean much for anyone except for us
Yeah,
who then have to deal with it and take it up the flagpole.
right.
Yeah.
Or even
Well,
commenting on other pages posts something that
mm,
is unkind. It's going to get back to your marketing person,
yeah.
and they're going to have to deal with it. So please don't do that.
Yeah, I just wish people would understand. You make more work for us.
Mhm.
already already got enough for that. But let's get back to 3PL and cold storage and talk about like what do you think is good marketing in our position? Like obviously we don't have, $1 million ad budgets. There's only so much we can do with the tools and the resources we have. What would you consider as good marketing for us?
That's an awesome question, and that's the same question that I've been trying to navigate of how do I make this work with basically no budget. Um, And the answer that I have kind of been coming up with was find the tools for social marketing. Because if we can find out what other people are saying in the spaces about Interchange or any other 3PL company, if we can find a need that's not being met where they currently are, maybe we can then reach out and say, hey, so you have this problem. How can we help? Or, hey, here's how we can help. Um, but I think that as is one of the questions that we all are asking ourselves, especially one person marketing teams, is what do I do? And I know a lot of us have imposter syndrome a lot of the time. I know I do. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing half the time. And making it work is just part of the job.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I mean, I've not immune to that, and I'm sure everyone from any level is not immune to that. I think like a lot of times that I think about like what would good marketing be for us. Um, you know, the easiest answer is oh, bring in leads for the salesperson to close. But I think bigger picture is honestly the brand of the company. A lot of the times, like we stepped in, and they might have a logo, they might have a tagline, they have a website that was done by a third party, but it's not all put together in a cohesive, package. And at the end of the day, yeah, you're judged by the sales that you bring in and the leads, but I also think that we have a very heavy duty of protecting that brand we help build, have helped craft. Um, so that's my 2 cents, but
Yeah.
I'm sure leads would end out on any executive's desk. Um, so I
And
want
we
to talk
also are the
about
face of the company for when we're doing like recruitment stuff because we're the ones that are
okay.
out at the events and all of that too. So
So
it's hard.
do you do you so you do recruitment events? Obviously, you just said. um,
I
do you
definitely
have
help
any?
with them.
Do you have like HR people that typically handle most of it, or you just go set it up?
So I make sure that HR has what they need to go and set up,
Okay.
as well as like making sure that the materials they have are up to date. We have a flyer that says now hiring, and we have a Spanish version and an English version, and then we have um, a virtual version that people can go to our link tree and find. So I think that more my stuff is behind the scenes than on the scenes for that, but it's definitely something I have a hand in.
Yeah. So you're doing leads, you're doing HRs, flyers, you're doing
Internal
internal. Yep.
communication, yeah.
Yep. So this question I have to ask: what request have you gotten on your desk that made you question your choice in marketing?
Um, let's see.
And you don't have to name drop anyone, obviously. No name dropping.
No name dropping. I I don't know that I've really had anything too crazy, but I've definitely had some people who are like, "Hey, we should do XYZ," or like, "We should have socks," or things like that. And I'm like, that would be great. If you can find me the budget for it, I would be happy to get that organized. Um, I think the craziest thing that I've had was more a request for me to join a committee that we have. And then when I joined the committee, all of my ideas were just like brushed off and ignored anyway. So I was like, okay, well then why am I here?
Hmm.
How
So
is
you're
this utilizing me?
so you're doing all your marketing roles, your HR roles, and all that, and in a committee too.
Uh, two committees, three
Three,
committees, yeah.
three committees. I'm in one, and I don't even enjoy just the one. Um,
Yeah.
so
what
when
editing's for.
oh yeah. So when something arrives on your desk, typically, like for me, I'm just gonna run through my example as I have like an internal marketing form. So if someone from HR, warehousing, transportation needs something, they fill out the form. It's got all that great information that, they never like to fill out, but hopefully since it's in front of them that they'll tell me, aka budget. Um, but they submit that and then it comes in, I'll take it and I kind of file it on, what's the, priority list for not just me, but what they think this is a priority as. And obviously everyone thinks that theirs is top priority. But for you, how do you handle things that come into you?
I will say that because my department is still newer, I don't have a whole lot of people coming to me for certain things. Um, I will get a, hey, do we have like a random blanket or things like that? And because I'm the keeper of all of our swag. Um, and generally I'm like, yeah, here, just take it, take what you want. I don't care because a lot of the stuff we have is actually older and that we've been trying to get rid of anyway. Um, right now I had a couple things come across yesterday that were we need to update our service list that's listed on this association's website, and our about us is off and hasn't been updated in at least 3 years on this other site. How do we get those updated and when can we do it? Um, and then another one was we need to get a paper written so we can be recognized on this other organization. Can you write a paper for that? Well, 3 to 700 words paper, I can do that, but you need to give me a topic to talk about. Um, and then the about us stuff, that's simple, just needing to update it. But I am in a place currently where I have all of my social media drawn up for the next month and a half. So I am just working on getting it scheduled so that way when those things pop up, I can just be like, okay, yeah, handled, done, no problem. Um, but some of those requests take a lot more effort because you have to reach out to each of those organizations like, hey, how do I get this specific thing updated? And when is the deadline for that? Or has that already passed? Are we out of luck for this year? Is that a print material or is it just on their website? Don't know. Got to find that too. So a lot of it's just doing the research to figure out what I can do with it instead of just
Yeah.
running with the task.
Yeah. And so with their profession, we're going to kind of move this more towards your career. Do you see yourself as more of like you want to stay in like your typical role for marketing, or do you look for, the next step? Now obviously maybe that's at Interchange, maybe that's at the next, uh, business, but like, are you looking to advance or is it more of just like maintaining your career?
I definitely don't want to stay stagnant. I'll put it that way. Like right now I'm working on upskilling, but that also entails like how can I improve what I'm doing currently, but
Yep.
also make myself more marketable for, if I do choose to leave and make the next person's life a little bit easier when they come on. Trying to put things in place that lays out, what each thing is, what the brand voice is. And everybody's going to have a different take on those anyway. So things are going to change, however, if depending on who their marketing person is, but trying to at least leave it and have topics and things that are easier to move forward with. Like right now, I'm working on white papers, which we had never had a white paper before. We've never done case studies before. So now I'm trying to gather all the information so we can start working on those and have a list of topics and even potential ones that are just ready to just publish. So that way, if I ever do leave, somebody just has to hit the publish button on
Yep.
content. That way they can hit the ground running a little bit easier than I did. I would like to move up in the industry, but I also like the idea of staying with one company and just growing the role and the department within that company and making it what it can be.
Yeah. So what type of skills professionally are you looking into? Like, for example, for me, one of my big things this year is I want to be better public speaking. We kind of discussed it, like we're
Mhm.
the face of the business, and sometimes, especially in smaller, B2B type businesses, not even the executives want to necessarily be that face. So we kind of have to take it upon ourselves. Otherwise, there's no one there. What are some of the skills that you're trying to get better at this year?
So right now I'm working on getting like certifications for marketing, digital marketing, email marketing, all those different things that show that I am at least keeping up with what's going on. AI in marketing. Um, I think that's where I'm really trying to upskill and make sure I have those things on my plate. Um, but I think professionally, I just want to show that I'm always learning and willing to learn because nobody wants to bring on somebody who isn't willing to learn a new skill or to try something
Yep.
that's different from what they've done before.
You mentioned AI, and we may as well knock this topic out of the conversation. But like, what are, again? I'm gonna reiterate ad nauseum that we are one man, one woman
Yep.
marketing teams. AI obviously plays a part. What are you doing with AI that assists in marketing? And for anyone that's gonna complain that AI is gonna take jobs or anything, like we we weren't getting additional marketing people at least anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, all the help, regardless if it's human or not, is appreciated at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I said that I have my content laid out for the next month and a half. I actually have topic ideas through July, and I use AI to kind of help me with that and say, hey, I'm a 3PL. What topics should I be covering on social media? And then sometimes I'll use it to help, like I'll create a post and the content for or the copy for one platform. And then I'll say, hey, can you optimize this and give me hashtags for these other platforms that I'm using? So that way I'm not spending all of my time optimizing and coming up with all the hashtags for three different platforms for minimum three posts a week, sometimes more than that. And it just helps to optimize my time. And then I'm not spending so much time working on it. And then if I write a paper, I'll put it through there and say, hey, can you edit this? Can you search mistakes? Can you make sure I'm using the right wording?
yep,
Because spell check finds incorrectly spelled words, but it does not find the wrong word if it's
yep.
spelled correctly.
Yeah, I have a love hate relationship with AI. I mean, it's a very useful tool. We have to learn it. There's no other if ands or buts. Like
Hmm.
it's gonna come for us at some point. But um, I've always I've loved it as like a brainstorming research tool type of thing. What I use it for a lot of the time is for my own writing, that I don't necessarily write everything the cleanest. I don't even speak it the cleanest, to be quite honest. But taking my own words and then inputting it into the AI system and saying, hey, I need this cleaned up and it needs to sound like this tone, this kind
Hmm.
of presence. So it's your own work, but it's helping you, clean up your language, making it
Yes.
obviously look more professional in some circumstances. I think the one time that I really, really despise AI, and as someone who loves graphics, is graphical work on AI. um, the amount of people that tell me like, oh, like look, look what I made on, ChatGPT or whatever the new AI system is, and it's a photo that you can quite clearly that know that it's AI. That bothers me. And then the other thing, and I'm not going to name any names, where I work or who I work with, but when people copy and paste things directly from whatever AI system, you can clearly tell. It's typically lists with emojis, and I'm like, hey, I know how you speak. That doesn't sound like you. um, but yeah, so I mean, I think there's kind of a gateway on what you use AI for,
Hmm.
um, and if it can be beneficial. I know we just recently had an AI policy rolled out from our IT department. Um, do you guys? I'm assuming have an AI policy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No open AI for us. If you're going to use AI at all, it has to be like it has to be like Copilot or something like that. Um, and I actually have somebody who's like, hey, you should do this, this, and this. And I'm like, that sounds great, but does that fit with our AI policy at work? Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I can't
it,
go against that policy.
well, and it's the same thing with like branding. I remember early on in my stint, uh, we were updating our template for our PowerPoint presentation because, like I said, obviously when we came in, there were templates, but they were out of date. They didn't meet with the brand guidelines that we had
Hmm.
then just created, and so I have this template all set out, and I get an email from one of our guys, and he's like, "Hey, I got a presentation. Can you send me the template?" So I shoot it over, and he goes, I want to add texture to the background, like like a paper kind of texture to the background. And I'm like, well, the way it's set up is the way it's set up. He's like, well, I want it, and I'm like, well, that doesn't meet our brand guidelines. Like that's the whole shtick of this thing. And he's like, well, can you just show me? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to show you how to circumvent the thing that I spent months creating for you. And it was a whole back and forth. But I mean,
Yep.
it's always interesting to hear technology. Is there a reason why you can't use ChatGPT? I mean, for
Because
other.
it's public and what you're searching is then searchable by other people. So if you're using it or if you're putting in um, industry specifics that are specific just to your company, then it's then searchable by anybody else using AI.
Great.
Yep.
No, I personally, uh, full endorsement if they want to give me a free plan. But I personally like Claude, um, for some of my stuff. But so let's see here. Going on based on the technology, is there any other like programs that you live by that you would be like, hey, if you're in my shoes, you need to get this program. You know, if there's anything you can spend money on, this will help you.
I mean, I know we talked about it before, but Canva.
Mm-hmm.
I love Canva
I'll die on
because
that hill.
yes, absolutely. Like I a Adobe Illustrator and Design Space is great. However, if you do not spend hours and hours and hours and hours learning the tool, it's still gonna look like crap. But Canva, you can play around. You're not gonna mess anything up. You're not gonna, lose what you've done. You just hit the back button and it fixes it. I love Canva, and that is the main tool I use for everything. I did all of our presentation designs in Canva and then downloaded them, made them backgrounds in PowerPoint. Um, you can present using Canva, which I have done, and it's great. You can record it and then send it out. And then it has, everything with your voice behind it. It makes it so much easier to do content and do it quickly.
Yeah, I definitely can't disagree. Canva is my favorite. I mean, over the year, I mean, I had it. God, I can't remember when I first started, but it's been years. I like to say that I'm a day one, probably not, but um, I mean, it's such a great tool. I actually have a our business account and then our personal, my own personal account, I should say, with it. That's how awesome it is. We do have Adobe, but like again, kind of like what you said, it's so easy to use. Um, it's there's gotten a little bit more bloat to it, ever since they've added a lot of like AI tools and whatnot, but
Hmm.
it's still hands down the best, thing that I use. It's the first thing that I go into. It's always up, besides Microsoft Teams, which if we're going to talk about things I hate, Microsoft would be one of them. But I mean, hands down, I 100% agree with you. Canva. But if I pushed you on a number two, what would that be?
Oh, um, hmm. I'm trying to think of something that I use all the time, work related. Um, Honestly, I primarily use Canva for everything. If it's work related, I don't know. I really don't know. Personally, number two is Cricut. I've used it for work and personal. Um, I make my own logos for stuff for work. Like we bought a truck that we're using at hiring events, and I'm going to put the Interchange logo across the truck. Could I have a professional do that? Yeah, but for $10, I can do it myself and have it tomorrow if I need it.
Yeah, we had it's kind of funny that you said that. I'll go into a little bit of a story. I was perusing Facebook to, just monitor if anyone was saying anything about us. And I stumbled upon a Facebook community that was die-cast model truck makers. And we're not, obviously a huge brand. So typically in those, you see like, your Penske, Schneider, like, big brand, people remodeling
Kenworth.
trucks. Yeah. And some gentleman remade one of our trucks. It was, I mean, blew me away. And it also got me a little bit worried because I'm like, all right, do I have to tell this, poor guy, like, hey, don't be using our logo without our permission? But, you know, I personally let it slide because I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, I wish we would have been able to buy it. I think he was asking for $500, and honestly, the amount of work and detail into it, I think it was worth it. But I was
What
overruled.
size die cast was it? Because that's a big factor in
Um,
that.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it was like it wasn't like a toy truck. It was probably like double, maybe triple the size of like a toy truck that you'd find like in a convenience store.
Okay, so
Um,
like pretty big.
yeah, yeah. So it would fit on like a podium of like a trade show table. That
Yeah.
was my ideas, similar to yours. We have two. I wonder if I have it here. Um, palette sticky notes, and then a palette 3D printed tray for it. I can't pick that one up, but like we got palette sticky notes. One of my favorite
Yep.
things I've ever designed. Um,
You sent me the
but
picture of those. Those were pretty cool.
yeah, shameless plug. Absolutely love those things, and it still brings me joy because anytime I hand something out, I don't tell anyone about the details, but like if you look at the labels and stuff, there's like hidden Easter eggs, and then the QR code on the actual label goes to our website, and people will come
Yep.
up to me and be like, "Do you know it goes to the website?" I'd be like,
Yes, I do.
"Shocker! I didn't know." It's almost like I tried, but yeah, it was. I just wanted it for the trade show to sit on the table, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
floating somewhere out there. Hopefully,
Yeah,
uh,
I got a forklift and one of the IT guys had an interchange pallet that he slid on top of the forks because the forks will lift up and down. And I'm like, he's like, you can have this. I'm like, yes, thank you. Um, it's so cool. It's so cool. Like it's not a remote control, but I could have gotten the remote control one, and I wish I had just for that.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. I just, especially being obviously business to business, like I feel like marketing kind of doesn't get that, sexy
Doesn't
fun
get to
look
be
as,
that fun.
yeah. So when you get those small moments of, I'm able to sit down and design palette sticky notes for a trade show where you have a forklift, like it's the fun. But
Yes.
I want to get your diehard opinion. What hill would you die on about a marketing topic? It could even be about advertising that most people would disagree with you on, but doesn't mean that you're not right, obviously.
I don't, so I'm still newer to the field where I don't feel like I have a whole lot of things where I am like absolutely die hard of a very strict opinion of because I want to keep learning. And so I try not to be super stuck in any one thing that I'm trying to do. Because if someone's like, hey, there's a better way to do this and it's better and it works more easily, then I'm absolutely going to change how I'm doing it to make it more efficient, to make it more effective. Um, but I think one of the things that a hill that I would die on is don't micromanage me. Because the second that I'm starting to feel micromanaged or it's uh, becomes something that it loses the fun and the creativity is just gone when you start getting micromanaged. So let your creative people be creative. And if you have a way to make their lives easier, do it and give them the resources they need.
Yeah. Do you have like a more is your boss is the director of marketing and sales, correct?
Yep.
Um, does he have more of like a hand-on approach or is he more off? I know for me personally, the director of sales is who I report to. And we have a good relationship. Obviously some of my work doesn't necessarily pertain to sales, so I'm kind of split time between everyone, but he's willing to obviously help me out if I need any help, but he's also, hands off. Like, you got the work, you know how to do it. Like, I don't want to be a part of it if I don't have to be, because that just makes more work for me.
He is very hands off. Um, he came from a very large company that had a very large marketing department. So I think that's why he is very supportive of and very encouraging of me to do new things and to try new things and will give me those things to try. But we're also both stuck with our time constraints and budget constraints of what we can do. So he's very understanding, but he is hands off to where he will let me do what I need to do without being overbearing.
Yeah, I always, hear stories about like, oh, marketing typically and smaller scale businesses sits under the sales umbrella, and you always hear those stories of like,
Hmm.
salespeople, are not marketers and whatnot, and I always wonder if that's more so that they're just getting that micromanager who is in sales that's micromanaging everything, or if that's you know just someone uh, who actually uh, does have the ability to be creative or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it depends on the person that's supervising because I know that I've had people who were very much micromanagers and did not know what they were talking about. Um, and did not like to be wrong even when they were. Ah, so I think it's very dependent on the manager.
yeah. So I'll give you a couple more questions because I don't want to take up more of your time. And I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
But, and we all know that this probably will never happen for either one of us at this current juncture. But if you had a Super Bowl budget, what would you do with it?
Oh man,
for one day. And it could be the
for
Super Bowl or it
one
could be just
day.
something else.
If I had a Super Bowl budget, I would bring in some celebrity, have their product in our warehouse and show the different, go from bottling to packaging to getting it to the store with that person like riding along, um, and have that in the 30-second commercial. I think that would be so much fun.
I like that. It's actually similar to what my idea is, and I'm not entirely sure how much this would cost, but I want Morgan Freeman narrating the whole timeline of a product coming from the producer through our transport, through our warehouse, through VAS, back onto our trucks, and to the store. That whole cycle, just narrating it like it's a nature documentary. But you know, I don't think we got Morgan Freeman money at the moment. But and then that would be
Oh,
either a Super Bowl ad or whatever we had money left over for at that point. Um,
my initial thought would be Ryan Reynolds,
that would be
but
another
we
good one.
definitely don't have Ryan Reynolds money, and I don't know that everybody at Interchange would appreciate the Ryan Reynolds dry sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
That would be the main concern.
that's another good one. I mean, that honestly, if it matches up with your brand voice,
It
I don't know
wouldn't,
if that
but
would match with
that'd be
us, but
great.
it would be hilarious. And I think that's kind of like there's a
Yes.
balance. Like I know I've been asked uh, some creative opportunities, and I'm like, that sounds great. However, doesn't match what we're going for. Doesn't match our style. Um, one
Yeah.
of them is like you'll hear a lot of the times I want to be like the Wendy's Twitter account where they're sassy. If you don't know, go
Oh
go
yeah.
follow. It's really interesting, but it's definitely not the tone everyone should take because at some point it's endearing, but then at another point it's you're just being a dick to be a dick. And you know
Yeah.
Wendy's can get away with it, but if you follow one of our accounts and I'm sitting there roasting you because you put the zip code again for our driver ad, and I didn't want to have to go, Google where that zip code was located to tell you if a job opening is there. I'm not entirely sure my boss, our leadership team would love it, but
Yep. I will
luckily,
say I have used AI to soften emails or comments back. I'm like, can you make this less spicy, please?
yeah, I had an encounter last week that I want typically like not tooting my own horn, but I'm pretty good at being level headed, especially when you get I deal with more of the angry drivers for recruitment ads and whatnot, and it's typically fine. You just tell them the facts and then move on. But there
Mhm.
was one guy who got to me, and I had to go up to one of my coworkers, and I'm like, "Hey, does this reply sound bad?" And he's like, "I would say that, but you shouldn't." And I'm like, "That's all I need to know."
Thank you very much. I will tone it
Yep,
down.
absolutely. Last question. New
Okay.
person's coming in to the cold storage marketing uh, business. What advice are you giving them?
Walk the floor with the location manager. Ask any and all questions. There are no dumb questions when it comes to the cold storage industry. Make sure you know how cold does it get? What are the ranges of temperature that it can hit? Because those are things that you're gonna get asked when you do a trade show. Um, and make sure you get their phone number so that if you're like, hey, quick question, and make sure you start an open dialogue with everybody because you are going to hear from a lot of people who are either going to have a great experience with the company, they're going to have an experience with the company, or they're just going to be straight up negative about everything. So you have to listen to everybody to kind of get a whole picture of what you're really looking at. Um, but develop the relationships with the people so that way if you do have a question you're not sure what the answer is, or you get a comment on social and you want to double check the information before you reply, make sure you have those contacts so you can provide accurate information in a timely manner and keep track of what those questions are and the answers so that we don't have to go back to them and ask them multiple times.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just internal networking, but just networking in general. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it was Tim and Matt from our respective organizations introduced us, and
Hmm.
here we are today. If you're a small B2B business, or even if you're a large B2B business and you're looking for some people to ask questions to, vent or whatever, like, we're available, or I should say I'm
Yep.
available. I don't want to, offer up yours, but,
Hey, shoot me a message. I will reply.
yep. And if you want to follow me, obviously on LinkedIn, but where would they find you?
I am also on LinkedIn. I'm also on most platforms. I have a professional page on Facebook. I have a personal page on Facebook, Instagram, but LinkedIn professionally is the best place to get in touch with
And if I figure out how to do it, I'll add links in the
me.
description area of whatever platform you are viewing this on. I want to thank you so much again for sticking with me through some questions that may be questionable. Hopefully, it was entertaining and fun for everyone.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great getting to talk to you. And I know we meet every month, so we can talk anyway. So I look forward to that or that monthly conversation.
Hey, everyone. Lucas, we had some technical difficulties at the end. Again, I want to thank our guest. This has been the first episode of Ad-Nauseam. I'm Lucas. This is Ad-Nauseam. Thank you so much.